There was a time Estelle felt important. Not important because of titles, not because she had money, not because people praised her within her circles, but important because she was needed. The house once revolved around her. Mommy, where is my school bag? What are we eating tonight? Can you help me with this? Please don't forget my appointment. Can you remind Daddy about the meeting? There was always something. Someone needed our advice. Someone needed our comfort. Someone needed our attention. And even though life was exhausting, there was comfort in being needed. Back then, she rarely had time to think about herself. Life moved too quickly. The children were growing. Bills had to be paid. Responsibilities kept multiplying. And somewhere between survival and sacrifice, she stopped checking on herself. At the time, she didn't notice it happening because identity loss rarely happens suddenly. It happens quietly, slowly, one sacrifice at a time, one postponed dream at a time, one maybe later at a time. And most women don't even realize it's happening until one day they wake up and no longer recognize themselves. That evening, the whole family sat around the dining table. Everyone was talking. The children laughed loudly. Her husband shared stories from work. Plans were being discussed, and she sat there quietly listening, not because she had nothing to say, but because something inside her had become tired. At some point during the conversation, everyone became excited about a family decision. They discussed dates, locations, ideas, and suddenly she realized nobody had asked what she thought. Nobody looked at her. Nobody intentionally ignored her. That was the painful part. They still loved her, but somewhere along the line, she had slowly become invisible inside her own life. She smiled politely anyway. Women like her learn how to hide pain beautifully. Later that night, after everyone slept, she sat alone in the living room holding an old photograph. It was a family picture taken years ago. The children were smaller then. She was smiling brightly. Her eyes looked alive. She stared at the younger version of herself for a very long time. That woman looked hopeful, confident, full of energy. And suddenly she wondered what happened to her. Not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, internally. When did life stop feeling like hers? She walked into the bathroom and stood in front of the mirror. For a few quiet seconds, she simply stared, not at wrinkles, not at age, but at exhaustion. There are some kinds of tiredness that sleep cannot fix. The tiredness of constantly giving, the tiredness of carrying everybody emotionally, the tiredness of being strong for too long. She touched her face gently, and for the first time in years, she admitted something to herself she had been avoiding. She missed who she used to be. The next morning was no different from every other morning. Breakfast, school runs, phone calls, laundry, cooking, solving problems. Life continued normally, but inside her, something had shifted. That afternoon, she sat at the dining table with a notebook in front of her. For once, nobody needed anything urgently. The house was unusually quiet, so she decided to write. Not grocery lists, not school reminders, not family expenses, something for herself. She held the pen for several seconds, and then nothing came. Her mind went blank, not because she lacked intelligence, but because she genuinely no longer knew what she wanted. That realization frightened her. How could someone spend years caring for everybody else, yet become a stranger to herself? She knew everybody's favorite food. She remembered birthdays, appointments, deadlines, problems, needs. But when it came to her own dreams, there was silence. The page stayed empty. And suddenly, she realized something many women are afraid to admit. You can lose yourself while still being deeply loved. That evening, she walked slowly through the house, watching everybody move around. The television played in the background. The children talked loudly. Phones rang. Doors opened and closed. Life was happening everywhere, but inside her, there was a deep quietness she could no longer ignore. She looked down at her hands. Those hands had done everything: cooked countless meals, held crying children, prayed through difficult nights, paid bills, supported others emotionally, fixed problems no one even noticed. Yet, somewhere along the line, she stopped taking care of herself emotionally. And the truth is, many women were taught how to sacrifice, but very few were taught how to remain whole while doing it. That night, while searching through an old drawer, she found something unexpected: an old certificate, then another, then the old notebooks, business ideas, goals, dreams she once wrote down, pieces of herself, forgotten quietly over the years. She sat on the floor, looking through them one by one, and memories came rushing back. There was a time she had dreams beyond survival. A time she imagined building something meaningful, learning new things, creating impact, becoming financially independent, using her gifts fully. But life happened. Marriage happened. Motherhood happened. Responsibilities happened. And slowly, she kept postponing herself. I'll do it later. When the children grow older. When life becomes easier. When things calm down. But life rarely calms down on its own. And later quietly became years. That realization broke something inside her, not because she believed her life was over, but because she feared she had abandoned herself for too long. Like this video so more women can see it. For days, that thought stayed with her, even while cooking, even while smiling, even while praying. Something inside her kept whispering, "What about you?" At first, she tried to silence it. Many women feel guilty for wanting more, especially women who have spent years serving others. Society praises selfless women, but sometimes, in the process of becoming everything for everybody else, a woman disappears completely and nobody notices, not even her. One morning, she opened her laptop. She stared at the screen quietly, unsure where to begin. The fear was overwhelming. What if she was too old, too late, too inexperienced now, too disconnected from the world? Midlife can do strange things to confidence, especially when years have passed since a woman focused on herself. But underneath the fear, something else existed too: hope. Small, fragile, quiet, but still alive. So she began slowly, not dramatically, not perfectly, just slowly. She watched online classes late at night, wrote down ideas in notebooks, researched possibilities, prayed more intentionally, started thinking about what made her feel alive again, and something beautiful began happening. Not outside immediately, inside. She started reconnecting with herself, not the version of herself people expected, but the woman beneath the responsibilities, the woman who still had dreams, wisdom, creativity, value. And maybe that's what many women in midlife are truly searching for. Not necessarily luxury, not attention, not escape, but reconnection to purpose, to identity, to the possibility. Because after years of pouring into others, many women quietly wonder, is there still something left for me? And the answer is yes. Yes, there is. Your life is not over because your children have grown up. Your dreams are not expired because time has passed. Your voice still matters. Your purpose still matters. Reinvention does not belong only to young people. Sometimes the strongest reinventions happen in midlife because pain changes people, loss changes people, experience changes people, and women who have survived difficult seasons often carry a depth younger versions of themselves never had. One evening, she walked quietly down the street at sunset. Nothing dramatic had changed. The bills still existed. Responsibilities still existed. Life was still imperfect. But something about her felt different. She no longer looked completely lost. Because for the first time in years, she was beginning to return to herself. Slowly, gently, honestly. And maybe that's where healing truly begins. Not when life becomes perfect, but when a woman finally decides, I deserve to exist in my own story too. And as the evening breeze swept across her face, one quiet truth settled deeply inside her heart. Her story was not over yet. The moment Estelle stopped surviving and started choosing herself, everything began to change. Subscribe to this channel and follow her journey as she discovers who she really is, rebuilds her confidence, and finally takes back the life she almost lost.